In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth, but the earth became chaos and emptiness, and darkness came over the face of the deep. Yet the Spirit of God was brooding over the surface of the waters. Then God said, "Light be," and light was. God saw that it was good. God separated light from darkness. God called the light day and the darkness night. Evening came and morning followed, the first day. And God said, "I'll make an expanse between the waters, separate water from water." So it was. God made the expanse and separated the water above the expanse from the water below. God called expanse sky. Evening came and morning followed, the second day. And God said, "Waters under the sky be gathered into one place, dry ground, appear." So it was. God called the dry ground earth, and the gathering of the waters sea. And God saw that this was good. And God said, "Earth, produce vegetation, plants that scatter their own seeds, and every kind of fruit tree that bears fruit with its own seed in it."
So it was. The earth brought forth every kind of plant that bears seed, and every kind of fruit tree on earth that bears fruit with its seed in it. And God saw that it was good. Evening came and morning followed, the third day. Then God said, "Now let there be light in the expanse of the sky, separate day from night. Let them mark the signs of seasons, days and years, and serve as luminaries in the sky, shedding light on the earth." So it was. God made the two great lights, the greater one to illuminate the day, and the lesser to illuminate the night. Then God made the stars as well, placing them in the expanse of the sky to shed light on the earth, to govern both day and night, and separate light from darkness. And God saw this was good.
Evening came and morning followed, the fourth day. God then said, "Waters swarm with an abundance of living beings. Birds fly above the earth in the open expanse of the sky." And so it was. God created great sea monsters and all sorts of swimming creatures with which the waters are filled, and all kinds of birds. God saw that this was good and blessed them, saying, "Bear fruit, increase your numbers, and fill the waters of the sea. Birds abound on the earth." Evening came and morning followed, the fifth day. Then God said, "Earth, bring forth all kinds of living soul, cattle, things that crawl, and wild animals of all kinds." So it was. God made all kinds of wild animals and cattle and everything that crawls on the ground. And God saw that this was good. Then God said, "Let us make humankind in our image, to be like us. Let them be stewards of the fish in the sea, the birds of the air, the cattle, the wild animals, and everything that crawls on the ground."
Humankind was created as God's reflection. In the divine image of God, created them. Female and male, God made them. God blessed them and said, "Bear fruit, increase your numbers, and fill the earth, and be responsible for it. Watch over the fish of the sea, the birds of the air, and all the living things on earth." God then told them, "Look, I gave you every seed-bearing plant on the face of the earth, and every tree whose fruit carries its seed inside itself. They will be your food. And to all the animals of the earth, and the birds of the air, and things that crawl on the ground." So everything that has a living soul in it, I give all the green plants for food. So it was. God looked at all of this creation and proclaimed that this was good, very good. Evening came and morning followed. The sixth day, thus the heavens and the earth and all their array were completed. And on the seventh day, God had finished all the work of creation And so on that seventh day, God rested. God blessed the seventh day and called it sacred, because on it, God rested from all the work of creation.
So God saw that it was good. And of course, God saw this billions of years before people got here. And I can't get over this. I mean, we've just been here in the blink of an eye. You know, this earth is 4.5 billion years. I don't even know what a billion is, like $1 billion. I don't know, but it's a lot. She has been here a long time. And you know, we've talked about this. In one handful of soil, there are more life forms that they're invisible. You know, people can see under microscopes than there are people on the planet. So when we think about what is invisible, the life forms, and then we think about this photograph of the earth that is everywhere in our house and in our church, in our altar, in our we have flags of the earth in front of our house, and I have my stole today that has the earth on it, and this photograph taken from space is extraordinary. It has I think changed our perspective. And then if we think about the telescope that, you know, enables us to see stars that are, you know, light years away from us. So we have just this invitation on Earth Day as we contemplate this beautiful image of the earth from space and what is invisible life forms and these it's just so incredible creation. What God has made is just completely incredible. And I think it is a day that invites our mystical experience. And it is a reminder that we are all one organism. We're all interconnected. And this picture I just found out today when I was driving to the earlier service was that today is Eastern Orthodox Easter. And so people in Ukrainian and Russia are celebrating Easter today. So we can commune with them and be at one with all those Eastern Orthodox human neighbors of ours in the Ukraine and in Russia as they celebrate the holiest day of the year on a time of good news, even though there is such incredible suffering. So the Eastern Orthodox is a tradition that very often has used icons as a spiritual practice. And it's one I've also used. I don't know if you have, but I encourage you to do this, to use the earth photograph taken from space as a kind of icon. And icons, you know, from Jesus to Mother Mary to creation scenes are ways in which we can look into the eyes of the holy and commune with them. And we can look into the eyes of Mother Earth as we contemplate her beautiful spinning in space. Okay, we've talked about this before. Rebecca Parker, I'm thinking about Unitarian Universalists because I'm going to the Unitarian Universalist Seminary, Harvard Divinity School, and Unitarian Universalist Mecca, Cambridge. And she wrote this incredible book sharing that the first Saving Paradise, the first 1,000 years of Christianity, there were no artwork made of Jesus hanging on a cross. Jesus was in a garden in paradise. So that is, I think, the image of our planet Earth that we're kind of coming back to 1,000 years later, is that we need to do this contemplation of the holy human beings in holy paradise. There it is. It's really a great book. Thank you, Kevin. Now, I wanted to just, as we invite mystical experience today about our oneness on Earth Day, Earth Weekend, Earth Week, Earth Decade, Earth Millennium, I want to just lift up Edgar Mitchell, who was the sixth man on the moon. And he's one of these guys that brought back these photographs of our icon of Mother Earth as a photograph. And he had this mystical experience when he saw Earth from outer space. And he came back and he created the Noetics, the Institute of Noetic Sciences. And I've been there. And he was passionate, as many people are who have some kind of a experience, a God experience of some kind, to had a passionate energy. And he gathered together both religious teachers and science teachers. And I've been there. It's a wonderful place. I encourage all of you to go. And they're teaching and hands-on healing and prayer and paranormal normal and dreams and all these kinds of fields that have been so interesting to me. And I think we need to follow in Edgar Mitchell's footsteps today on Earth Day, to have this perspective from space and be invited to celebrate our mystical experiences, our God experiences with creation. Okay, the term, as you know, care for our common home, was coined by Pope Francis in Laudato Si. Laudato Si means praise be to you. So we're here to give praise and thanks for creation. And Pope Francis, in this very brilliant encyclical or teaching, it inspired me, and this is what we've named our church. This is our church is named after this, Church for Our Common Home. We could have named it Church for Care of Our Common Home, but it is what we need to do on Earth Day. And also we can lift up, we sing every Sunday St. Francis prayer. It was only 1,000 years ago that our ecologic saint, St. Francis, talked to the animals, yes? And the animals talked to him. And that's what we're going to do more of. And of course, I shared today, and when I talked to the Unitarians in Salem, you know, that every Sunday, we didn't do it, Cynthia, because you weren't here, and we sort of made a vote. We usually read this every Sunday, but we were all regular. So I'll read it with you after. But it's a 12-step program for ecologic civilization. And the first step is that telling the truth that we are living in the 6th extinction of life on Earth, the only one created by humans. So that is really, really depressing news. At any rate, I was thinking about the way that we could celebrate Earth Day. I would invite some of my favorite people to be on a party committee with me. And one of them would be Edgar Mitchell, right? One of the astronauts, you know, who's actually been out in space, who's had a mystical experience. And the other one was Suzanne Simard, which we've been talking about during Lent, who wrote The Mother Tree. And she is I love her title. She's a forest ecologist. I love that term. And she points out, you know, that the whole Pacific Northwest, where we are now, is the lungs of the earth. I've heard this said about the Amazon, but she says it's just as true, if not even truer, as this whole area of the Pacific Northwest. And so she is one. And I shared with them about our secret prayer garden, and about my practice that I actually learned from Rudolf Steiner about sitting with the tree and praying with the tree. And it's just kind of extraordinary to me that I began that practice in a tree, and many of you who used to worship with us in San Diego, it was the tree in the front yard, remember? It was such a powerful experience. I've invited all of you to do that, and I hope some of you have. I don't think sometimes anybody listens to me, but anyway, it's a really powerful experience.
Welcome to the club.
At any rate, you know what they did? They cut that tree down when we moved out. Terrible. It was a beautiful, beautiful old tree. At any rate, I started that practice, you know, in San Diego. Then we come here, and I'm doing the same thing here in all these trees. And then I read Susan Simard, and it feels like this kind of synchronous. You see Susie out there. I wish she was here with us. She's out there, the cat. She's having a good time scratching her back in the sun. At any rate, I feel that Susan Simard is a kind of a mystic talking about organic, you know, our organic wholeness, our oneness as a forest ecologist. And I just feel she's my soul sister. And I'm going to meet her. I'm going to invite her to come here, and I plan to go visit her. But I definitely want her, now that we have a secret prayer garden on 12 trees, to be on this party committee, yes, for Earth Day. And then I was thinking, of course, we had to invite Mary Magdalene. Okay, we were first the Church of Mary Magdalene before we became Church for Our Common Home. And Mary Magdalene has been so important to me. John Cobb, I love the chapter you wrote, so now I don't have to write it, but I had a few more things I wanted to say about her.
Good.
It's just, it's brilliant what you wrote.
Okay, but that's on the topic of how we think of God.
I loved it.
I did not,
loved it.
I haven't touched the question of
Okay, but it was
the role of
John
women.
Cobb. We know he's always brilliant, but this curriculum he's written, it's a galactic. It's way out there. Oh, and I love and he said that we can start this curriculum because I'm going to try to, put some window dressing on it, and we can start maybe next month here at Church for a Common Home. And John, we can talk about this, but I kind of want to do the last part first, about the Ukraine and stuff like that. But it's galactically brilliant, and I'm really excited about that. But we have to invite Mary Magdalene to be on our party committee for Mother Earth. And, she was a leader empowered by Jesus in a sexist patriarchal world. And it was the women leaders in the first couple of 100 years of the church. And they had had parties every week. And what did they do? They ate together. They always had a meal. Okay. And so I keep thinking we need to have a different kind of worship. You know what I mean? Like more like in the manger with the Holy Family, or like a dinner party with the animals and the plant life. So here we are, we're doing this community ministry, and we want to take down the regular walls. I mean, not all of them, they help us, but the walls that have kept us separate from the natural world. And we need, as religious people, as Unitarians, as Christians, we need to say, wow, this is an opportunity to have a party and to get together and to invite the natural world into our worship. And we need to go out into the natural world to be in relationship with them. I feel sure this is what Mary Magdalene would do. Don't you think, John Cobb? If she were here today, she would say, we left somebody out of our party. We left the trees and the goats and the ducks out, and all the life forms in the soil and all the stars. And we need to invite all of them in. And not only that, this is the way we can work at interfaith people. Yes, this is the project that we can have as interfaith, interreligious people, that we can all work for new kinds of worship, new kinds of ways to do social justice that's about being with the natural world. Okay, so let's see now. Okay, got that. I'm sorry, I just got really excited, so I wasn't reading my manuscript. So I don't usually read a manuscript. Okay, so another person I wanted on the party committee is Jane Goodall. And Jane Goodall, who of course came to our launch of the Living Earth movement, well, we were so blessed to have her. And she, extraordinary. I'm sorry? Chimpanzees. That's right. And the story is, Cynthia, you'll really like this if you haven't heard it. She was doing her research in Africa, and then she was not a traditional person, and she had a very loving mother. She attributes her ability to be able to follow her intuition and her heart. She'd been doing all of this amazing relationship building with the chimpanzees in Africa. And this guy she worked with said, this woman has it going on. She needs to get a PhD. So they sent her to Cambridge, and she went to Cambridge, and she was so happy to be there. And she shared them all about all of the chimpanzees that she was working with. And they said, oh no, Jane, you doing it all wrong. You have to assign numbers to the chimpanzees. You cannot call them by name, but this will make you impartial and it will ruin your research. And you know what Jane said? She said, you'll love this. She said, but I knew they were not nearly as wise as another teacher I'd had when I was a child. And his name was Rusty, my beloved dog. And he taught me that animals have feelings and are capable of deep intimacy. All right, so Jane Goodall has to be here at our party committee. And this is going to be not just for Earth Day. Every day needs to be Earth Day. Every religious worship needs to be Earth Day. Okay, so we have Mary Magdalene, we have Edgar Mitchell, we have Suzanne Simard, Oh, yes, and my father. I wanted to invite my father. And we had this game. Oh, I love my father so much. I'm so sorry none of you knew him. He was one of the most spectacular human beings I've ever known. And oh, he was kind and good and funny. And our favorite game that we played when I was a child was we called cats and dogs. And we would get on all fours and crawl around the living room. And sometimes I was a dog and sometimes he was, and sometimes I was a cat. And we would just bark and meow at each other. We had a complete and utter blast. We did that like, I remember doing it like a lot, you know, I hope we did. And it was a really, really wonderful game. So I want him. And we know St. Francis talked to the animals. I'm sure all of you talk to your pets. I want to encourage you, talk to the flowers and the trees and the soil and the stars. You know, we pray in words, don't we? We pray in words. This is the way we communicate. But we also need to go, when we go to people, we need to communicate and be a mutual intimate relationship with them in their language, right? So if they don't speak English, then we need to talk dog. Or if the trees don't speak English, but they do, they will respond. Just like Suzanne Samard is saying, they have these intricate, intimate relationships where they're feeding one another. These trees with roots that go 300 miles down, and super highways of relationship, of love, of care for one another. Okay, so you get the idea. This is how I think we need to change our church. So I'm going to this ecological spirituality conference. So this is going to be my suggestion. And I'm going to ask everybody at Harvard. I'm going to sing that song, ask them all to quack like ducks. So we'll see if they do. We'll see. But you know, we've crucified Mother Earth, haven't we? We really have crucified her. And the story of the Station of the Cross is the story of Jesus being crucified, and also the story of the resurrection. And that love is more powerful than even torture and death. And there are signs of hope all around. I met this wonderful man at the Unitarian Church today, and he said, oh, I'm so excited about what you're doing. And I'm doing a project. It's called, what is it called? Garden Guilds. That's it, Garden Guilds. And he said, I want to get neighborhoods together, and I want them to have monthly meetings, and I want them, we'll have an educational program, and we'll all bring produce that's extra, and we'll all cook something that's vegetarian to share. And this will be a way we can be together. Neighbors, I said, come do this in my neighborhood. I just said to Walt, I said, I want to have this neighborhood party that we had yesterday. Now, Cynthia's our new neighbor. She lives a little bit far away, but not too far. And he said, oh, we can't do it every month. It's just too much. And I said, okay.
I said that.
You did. Yes, you did. And then I said, hey, I've got an idea. Let's just have this guy from the UU Church. He'll do it, you know, and we'll invite him here. So we don't have to be in charge of it. We'll just let him have these garden guilds here in our neighborhood. So the point I'm making is that there is hope. There is hope. People are trying to live differently, think differently, and live in community together, and to be in more harmony.